Hello and welcome to another episode of The Football is Fixable. Oh, no, is it? Hello and welcome to the podcast where we look to reassure everyone that football is fixable. Alright? Alright, Sis?
Alright.
Yeah. Hello and welcome to another episode of the podcast where we look to reassure... For f***'s sake, it's a long intro, isn't it? Hello and welcome to another episode of the podcast where we look to reassure everyone that football is fixable. Alright. Alright, Sis?
Alright.
Yeah. It's been interesting, isn't it? How... Oh. Hello and welcome to... You laughing? Stop laughing. Hello and welcome to another episode of the podcast where we look to reassure everyone that football is fixable. Alright? Alright, Saz?
Alright.
You know that in our episode with Coops, the Chelsea episode, Archie said, love Coops, by the way. Just to get another shout out for you, Archie.
Oh, yeah.
We said in that episode that Marina, I think Coops said this, Marina used to get jobs done. She was like the sporting director under Abramovich. Do you remember us talking about that?
Yeah.
Like, she always just seemed to get best deals done, get good value for money when she was selling players. And it was like, and Coops was saying, we've missed Marina.
Yeah.
Did you hear the news? So, well, I know you have, because I sent it to you and Coops, actually.
That is true.
So it's been in the news recently that Marina has been apparently linked to some dodgy payments. Former Chelsea chief executive Marina Granovskaya.
Say that one more time.
Marina Granovskaya.
Right. In your finest Italian accent there.
Mamma mia. Faces questions over secret off-the-books payments allegedly made during the Roman Abramovich's ownership. Apparently, we are giving her a lot of praise for getting the jobs done, but actually she's been involved in quite a few allegedly been involved with dodgy dealings.
That's a surprise, isn't it? Hearing a Russian being in the story for off-the-book payments. In fact, isn't secret and off-the-books same thing?
Secret? No, they're secret off the books. They're not
not public off the books.
They're not public off the book payments. Right. They're secret ones. Come on,
that's even worse, isn't it?
Keep up. Yeah, according to the Guardian, other newspapers are available. Documents appear to show that Granovskaya was made aware of the payment to Hazard's agent, as well as fees related to transfers on Willian and Samuel Eto'o. Apparently, she also was getting personal loans from Abramovich and this was via an offshore company, for a house in Fulham, £7.5 million worth.
Wow.
So it all seems like there's a little investigation going on there. So maybe having Marina involved might not have been a good idea.
No, and to be honest, we've got no agenda against Chelsea, but we hate Chelsea,
not at all.
don't we?
But we hate them, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of typical of Chelsea. Whenever there's decisions that look like they're great decisions, there's always something bad coming out.
An aftertaste.
Yeah.
Something evil going on. I don't know.
Exactly, yeah. Well, I've got one, a new segment. It's actually my good friend Graham Souness.
Souness. I can already see that vein on your forehead, Kieran.
Yeah, on TalkSport. In fact, actually, he was talking about Chelsea, and he came up with a very good point that it's fantastic that he brought it up. He said that Chelsea are not a world-class club. Brilliant. And in other news, water is wet. Graham Souness, well done.
This is very just recency bias, though. I mean, Chelsea having won loads of things for a period of time under Abramovich, and then obviously they've been struggling in the last few years, and there's all sorts of comical decisions that seem to be made. Obviously, we chatted about it in our last episode, didn't we, with Coops? But
yeah,
is it very much just recency bias on that? They've been lower echelons of the Prem, and suddenly they're not world class. Would he have said that when they just won the Champions League for the second time?
I don't know. I just think that.
Do you agree with him that they're just not world class and that's just expected?
Yeah, I just think it's a stupid thing for him to say. Personally,
just stating the obvious.
Yeah,
Sorry,
It's obvious.
Chelsea fans. Cess doesn't think you're world class.
Where did they end last season? Like 12th or something, and they're struggling almost as much this season. And
I think they are around 11th, aren't they? We
yeah,
said last
and
week.
Graham Souness has been paid to go on TalkSport to say that they're not world class. Well done. Well done.
Oh yeah, he's getting paid for that.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
He also, do you know what? He actually came out and said that anything's possible in football.
Well, it
He
is.
said it.
It's football, you know.
He, I've been telling people this, that it gets said so much, and
That's football.
yeah, and that's 2 weeks in a row someone's come out on TalkSport and said it.
Oh, and it's your idol
So-
as well. It's your favourite pundit.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, magical.
No. What else is in the news today?
Well, there's a lot on Chelsea actually. We just I know. So we did our recent episode on Chelsea. Please do go and have a look at it if you haven't caught it already. But I've got another little bit of news that came out. I think it was yesterday. Todd Bowley, Todd Bowley, the chairman. It came out that apparently he's going to be removed as chairman so you have like a 5-year spell or something or other. So in 2027, I think it is, he's being replaced. So he's still going to be part of the ownership, his consortium, and how it's all going to work. And I think he will be able to be re-elected in the future. But it looks like they're looking at the Clear Lake financials, or whatever they are, the larger stake in the club, are making the decision to remove him from as chair.
Too right, really.
There you go.
If anything, I mean, like we say, it's Chelsea, isn't it? They're always going to make weird decisions. So
I've quite enjoyed his chairmanship, to be honest. It's been quite fun to watch.
yeah, just seeing Chelsea's demise.
There's how many players did they sign? We were talking about last week. That they had they couldn't even get them all in the dressing room and just sign. Oh look, that Arsenal interested in that player. Let's sign him. Oh Brighton, let's go and sign those players.
Yeah.
It's funny.
Well, in other news, Gary Neville mentioned something
Right.
on his podcast. What was it? Stick to Football. He said before the two international friendlies that England had, he made a bold claim that either Saka, Foden or Rice will pull out of the internationals, and pretty much the next day Saka pulled out.
Yeah.
He absolutely called it, and he made a point that the March internationals are absolutely pointless because they're the last internationals before an actual international tournament in the summer.
But also, it's just as the run-in of the league.
Exactly. The top teams will not want their players to play. So he said himself that Fergie, in his era, he and Roy both said it, that half their players weren't allowed to go, and some of them had to feign injury or whatever, and weren't allowed to even have treatment with England. They had to go back to United. And
did Fergie have some sort of clash with, was it Glenn Hoddle or something?
Yeah,
Or
with
I
Glenn
thought
Hoddle.
I'd read about somewhere.
Yeah, and it happens all the time. You know, you see this time round, Haaland and De Bruyne immediately pulled out. Saka pulled out. I think Thomas Partey. I think they said something like 15 players in the top three teams just all of a sudden pulled out, and you can bet at least 14 of them, I'm sure,
A
will
lot
play.
of them, yeah, a lot of them. You'd think it's not all for injury reasons or whatever.
But yeah, that's the problem with the March internationals, is that none of the top teams will want to risk their main players. In which case, the international managers, won't really get to test out their best teams.
So if you're already qualified, like England are, in this case it's the Euros, what's the point in I suppose the friendlies allow you to try out some tactics and see new players, maybe blood a few players.
And that brings me on to a bit of other news with England.
Right.
We said that Kobbie Mainoo should be in the team on our episode.
Yeah.
And the day after, Kobbie Mainoo got called up.
Yeah, he was originally meant to be in the under-21s, wasn't he?
Yeah.
But then
Southgate heard us.
Yeah, the podcast went out, and then within a day he's called up. I mean, that's impressive. Hopefully, I mean, you did on that podcast say that Southgate has to go, but he's
surely from the last two games, it's shown that Southgate really can't handle it.
Oh, did you also? There's a little stat around that. I read it today. This is good news.
Good news.
It's not good news, but it's good. It's our good news segment.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So it's not necessarily good news, but yeah. Apparently, against the like top 6 or top 10, like ranked international teams, Southgate's win ratio. Any guesses what it might be?
I'm going to say he's won 4 out of 24.
Oh, okay. 1 in 5, so
20%.
That's you're not far off, but that's higher than it is.
Is it?
It's lower than that. 15%.
Wow.
Win ratio. That was Owen Wilson there.
Wow. That's insane, isn't it?
So, I mean, maybe you were right. Maybe he
Maybe. Of course I'm right.
Maybe
The
we do
problem
need to
is-
change Southgate. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I mean those 2 international games, there's two ways to play those internationals. One is to test out your best team to be able to finally cement the best team that you'll play for the for the tournament, or test out some fringe players that you need to see before the tournament. He tried to play his best team in the Brazil game, the first game. He just didn't have a few of the, Kane, Saka, that kind of stuff. The second game, he didn't even test out Branthwaite, who I keep hearing a lot of people saying he should possibly be in the first team.
Yeah.
He gave Kobe Mainu 15 minutes or something like that. He hasn't even properly tried these fringe players.
What was the point in the whole thing?
Yeah, exactly. He didn't.
Especially
learn much at all.
defensively. Yes, defensively I think we said last in that episode, whereas I think that's our weakest area.
Yeah.
And you think Branthwaite, he's had a brilliant season so far. Let's see what he's like.
Yeah.
Dunk, who I do actually rate as a defender, he's a good player. He made mistakes, unfortunately for him.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying he shouldn't have been in the team, but I think that Branthwaite should have at least had some minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
Around
Yeah,
that.
just even a substitute appearance in one of the 2 games, but not a single minute. And I think Southgate just wasted the opportunities in these last games.
God, it was boring, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I didn't watch it, so I just found I don't mean the games were boring. I mean they probably were because it's England and
Yeah,
Southgate.
it was a bit dumb.
But I don't know. We were chatting. I think it was off air, but I watch England in the big tournaments, so in the Euros and the World Cup, and I enjoy that in the summer. And we've had a few good sort of match watch-alongs, whatever it is. Actually, we could do that at some point.
Yeah.
Do a watch-along for our fans, our many fans.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's just really boring. It's just I want the Prem back. So it's 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Right. So what we're talking about today is more around. I mean, we touched upon it in a a previous episode, wasn't it, around toxic fans and that kind of thing, that toxicity in football.
Yeah.
That's something that you nag on at me all the time about. There's a difference between. Well, I'll do your voice.
Okay.
So there's a difference between rivalry and hatred, and that's what you moan at me all the time.
Nice. I sound like David Mitchell, do I?
Yeah, a bit. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's a goodish impression of you. So yeah, that whole idea in football about there's a good rivalry or not a good rivalry. Is it actually hatred as opposed? And then you ramble on about that other sport that you keep going on about.
You say ramble on, but you have just as much of an interest in the conversation as I do. I would say I just say it passionately because I'm more worldly. I observe more in the world. You're just very focused and narrow-minded, so you can only see football, whereas I can see other things. I'm able to enjoy the rest, other things in the world.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure about that.
It's like food as well, isn't it? I can
No.
have whatever, and then you go, oh no, just beans on toast for me, please.
No, I saw that jalapeno in that pizza.
There was no jalapeno.
There was some
in that
sort
pizza.
of. I'm not saying you put it there, but I can still taste it. It's like. It's not. It's just. I know what I like, right?
Yeah, stick with it.
Yeah.
Oh, it's Tuesday. It's beans on toast with medium cheddar for me.
Yeah, I'm mild normally, but I'll stretch to
You
a
didn't even
medium.
go to medium. I just want people to, like I said before, I want people to know just how weird you are.
What was
Because
it you said that I would be like in an apocalypse? I would.
Oh,
We used to argue because we used to play Black Ops Zombies, didn't we? Zombies,
Yeah.
and You would say,
You
no,
would
no,
die
I'll
instantly.
last longer than you. Oh, no, you won't, you would say.
You would die instantly because people would say, "Oh, James, we've we found some food. We found some spam." And you'd be like, "Oh no, spam, no, thank you. I'll wait." Oh no.
Oh, wait.
Yeah.
That was the thing. When
Oh,
wait.
we found beans for you. Oh, that's great. Do you have mild cheddar? No, we don't.
Are they
Oh,
Heinz
well.
beans?
Yeah.
Oh, wait.
You are so fussy.
But we haven't eaten in days. That's okay.
I need bread with it.
You can't have beans on toast without the bread.
Yeah, I'm not a barbarian. Come on. Yeah, you would die straight away.
No, I don't know what you're on about.
What was your question again? I can't. Oh, yeah.
Hatred and rivalry. I know what I'm
yeah.
feeling right now.
Well, so you mentioned that I bring up a so-called other sport, but I don't necessarily think it's just one other. I know the sport you're talking about, the R word,
Yeah.
but I think it's every single sport apart from football.
Other than football. So you
Yeah.
think football has a uniqueness in terms of the hatred, not just a rivalry. There's more hatred and more
Yeah.
nastiness to it.
Yeah, so we talked before about the uniqueness of football.
It is. I mean, it is football.
It's an art. Yeah, I get it.
That's football for you.
When it when it comes to the uniqueness of football, something that you can attribute to football is its lack of distinguishing between rivalry and hatred. So in any other sport, just pick any sport you can think of. Like I like Formula One, for example. You have all the fans of and they are big fans. You know, they could be
like
fans
very
of,
large.
Yeah, humongous. Yeah. And also they really like the sport.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So they could really like a certain racing driver or the construction car, and they can wear the
company basically. Isn't it?
yeah. And so some people wear the Dutch the bright orange kit for Max Verstappen. Some people do the red for Ferrari and all this stuff.
Yeah.
But they're all mixed in together. You don't have to separate them. Same as in any individual based sport like tennis and snooker and stuff. They have. Everyone has their favourites, but you don't have to separate them. In team-based sports like rugby, you don't have to separate the fans. My parents are season ticket holders for Bath Rugby. They
Don't mention that word.
what Bath?
Oh yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, it brings back bad memories.
Yeah, you're more a shower guy.
Yeah.
Aren't you?
Oh, not the bath. I'm like a cat. I don't like to feel. No, it's alright. Carry on.
Yeah, but all the fans are mingled in, and you can go into a Gloucester rugby pub as a Bath fan, and it doesn't matter. But when it comes to football, in most cases, at the very least, in a stadium, you have to separate. You've got the
Yeah, well,
away
you've got
stand.
like police as well. So it is very securely separate, isn't it?
Yeah,
most
and
of
in
the
the worst case scenarios, they have to be cordoned off, and you have to separate them with stewards. There's even walkways. I remember there was a Millwall game not long.
I mean, that
ago.
is Millwall.
It is Millwall, so it's the worst case scenario for the UK.
Yeah.
But you've got to have that for almost every game. You've got to separate them, and then if trying to walk into an opposition's traditional pub wearing your top, that's just unthinkable.
And it's probably seen as trying to provoke some sort of fight or something like that, wouldn't you? Be
And you can have
disturbing the peace.
Yeah, and local derbies that are big, the North London derby and Merseyside and stuff.
and
They
Manchester
can have
and-
families that split down the middle in terms of who they support, and they can be civil. That's what that's family, but you wouldn't have that family then wearing a Liverpool kit and expect to be treated normally if they walk into an Everton pub, for example. It can happen, but it, like you say, it provokes. It's more a way to provoke a negative reaction, really.
And this is the thing. What gave us the idea of actually addressing this topic, because it's something we spoke about for a long time, isn't it? But there was the FA Cup the other weekend. When United and Liverpool had that brilliant, 4-3, it's a bit of a crazy game. But I swear I read afterwards there were loads of arrests and things as like the tragedy chanting. It's like, what sort of people would do that? I don't understand the idiots that would, make chants up about tragedy. I get banter and I get songs and jokes and tongue-in-cheek stuff, but about tragedies and things like that's happened in the history of different clubs. How can you... I just don't understand that way of thinking. I
No.
don't get it.
Yes, I've always used as the litmus test the idea about the relegation of your rival, haven't I? So I
Oh,
said to
I see
you a
what
while
you mean,
ago, as an Arsenal fan, would you like to see Tottenham get relegated?
Yeah.
And you were like, yeah, oh, that'd be hilarious. And I said, so that's your biggest derby rival that you'll no longer be able to play against. And I've said it with not just Arsenal fans, but with fans of any other team. I've got a Liverpool fan that I asked, a United fan, Chelsea fan, whatever team they disliked. I said to them, like, would you like to see them get relegated? It's 100% of the time.
It's like
Every
really
single time.
short-sighted because actually,
Yeah.
would you miss them eventually?
Yeah, because if you go to any other sport, if you say to I'm a boxing fan as well, and I'm a big Anthony Joshua fan, and if someone said, would you like to see Tyson Fury retire and never fight AJ? I'd go, no, I want to see them fight. I feel as though AJ will probably lose against Tyson, but I want to see that fight because there's a chance he could win.
And I hope that he's, yeah.
Yeah, and rugby fans, same thing. Would you like to see a rival get relegated? No, we want to play them. We want to fight against them.
And I think there's bad press. It's probably the minority that ruins it for the. We often say that, don't we? There's always a minority of muppets ruin it for the rest of us. In football, where you hear the worst of it, you hear the hatred coming out, whether it is the chanting, whether it is the fights and the violence. There seems to be more of it in football than there are other sports.
Yeah.
Why is that? Why is that? Why does it happen?
Well, I think it's because you mentioned the minority ruin it, and that's definitely true for the worst case scenario in terms of it turning into violence. But I think the vast majority, if not pretty much all football fans, actually can't distinguish between rivalry and hatred. I think that's the problem, because then that'll mean there's far more likelihood for there to be someone in that group that can cause violence. Because I mentioned to you, you're not a violent person, and you will never start anything violent in the name of football or in the name of Arsenal or anything. But I said to you, would you like to see Tottenham get relegated? And you said yes. The distinction between rivalry and hatred is already blurred for someone who isn't even violent. And in every case, any football fan I've asked, when I said, would you like to see your rival get relegated, they've said yes. And I'm not saying these people are violent so will turn violent, but if even the non-violent, rational thinking football fans have a blurred sense between rivalry and hatred, then it's going to be far easier to find someone who already is a violent person and latches onto football to justify their violence.
I was going to say, like, hatred doesn't mean violence. You can hate something without being violent towards something.
Yeah, absolutely.
Are you saying it's a stepping stone towards violence? Is hatred very much on the cusp of it's not much of a stretch from hatred to turn violent because it's
in fact, yeah, because I mean, hooliganism.
Are you feeling alright tonight?
Hooliganism in the first place. Try and say that word.
Hooliganism in the first place.
Well, it's your native language.
You better not edit this out. You edit, all the stupid things you say all the time. You leave my silly
I never say
things.
anything stupid.
Well, you do, but you edit it out.
There's literally nothing that's edited. It's all completely live.
Right.
Yeah. I can't even remember what I was saying. Hooliganism in the first place was, you could tell that they weren't necessarily fighting for their team. It was a fight that they wanted. So, I remember someone years ago saying that a lot of people are against religion because of the violence that religion causes. But the stupidest thing to do is thinking that violence will be stopped by removing the religion. Because people have fought for anything.
Yeah, some people just want to be violent.
Yeah, people have killed in the name of freedom, not necessarily in the name of religion. So
what was it Alfred said to Joker? No, to Bruce Wayne.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, Bruce Wayne. Some people just want to watch the world burn. So
was that your Michael Caine?
No. Michael Caine was in the room. That wasn't me.
You sounded like what's his name? Ray Winston.
Ray Winston.
Ray
But in play.
being
In play now.
Yeah.
I'll get my boys on you.
Yeah. So I think people were being violent in the name of. They already had violence within them, and they latched onto football as a way to be part of a tribe. So
that's often raised, isn't it, the whole idea of tribalism. And it's almost like you're I think that does exist in football, and you'll have to tell me because I'm not wise to it. Whether does tribalism exist in other football? It's like your family, your
Other football.
in other sports. You can edit
See,
that.
that's all you can
edit that out.
Football is all sports, isn't it?
So is football the problem with football, Seth?
Yeah.
No, yeah, but is tribalism something that you've witnessed in other sports? Then is it? Do you find it is
Not
the
really.
same way as tribalism? Really, is it unique to football?
I think it's unique.
more
to
common
football.
to football anyway.
Yeah, it's there's been cases of racism or violence in certain hot spots. Even in the Olympics, I remember there were a few people arrested because of violence that went on in the stands, but it's not a common theme.
Right.
Whereas it's a common thing in football, isn't it?
Well, tribalism again isn't bad in itself, as
No,
long as it doesn't
no.
lead to, say, violence, for example, or
Yeah.
any form of abuse or harassment or whatever.
Yeah, and I genuinely think football doesn't turn people violent. I think violent people latch onto football.
They
to
use football
it.
as an excuse, basically.
Yeah, they use it to justify the violence that's already in them.
I do remember someone we used to play, I won't name any names, but someone in the first Sunday League team I played in, he actually said, I'm going to go out there and hurt them today,
Yeah.
sort of thing. And he would
I've
actually
heard
look to, and he was someone who used to get red cards regularly. And this is Sunday League red cards.
Yeah.
So they'd be even more red than...
You have
know.
to do a really harsh challenge in order to get a red, don't you?
When we were playing, I know that it wasn't a million years ago or anything, but it always felt like to get a yellow card would be a red card challenge in the Prem.
Yeah.
It would be a yellow card in Sunday League. It felt
Yeah.
like that sometimes.
Yeah, even with some red cards, which would genuinely deserve red cards, you have some people saying, like, oh, come on, ref, it's only supposed to be a fun game and stuff, and the ref's like,
Yeah.
oh,
I got a
okay.
20 quid fine for that. I can't do that,
Yeah, and they get
It's like,
that off.
he broke his leg.
Yeah.
One challenge, a double foot challenge on me. I was luckily jumped out of the way, but it caught me a bit, and I ended up doing like a somersault. But it ripped my boots. My laces
Oh, wow.
snapped. It caught like a part of my laces,
Yeah.
and he got a yellow card. I remember looking up, so I was lying on the floor, and I looked up, and my team and the other team were at each other's throats and all
Yeah.
that kind of thing. I was like, what's just happened? But fortunately, I managed to. It's like we say this off air quite a lot. And so when we played football, you always had to be on your toes a bit, didn't you? Because
Yeah.
you just knew there's challenges left, right, and centre.
Yeah.
People don't know how to stay on their feet. I don't know if that's the case now, but
Yeah,
people
well,
always sliding for the sake of sliding.
It was always the case that
Jumping in.
I think we were lucky enough to be faster than most people that we played against.
Yeah.
And so if you're slower or
less
you are
hungover, I
fit,
suppose.
Yeah, exactly. Not as hungover, not as fit, then the idea is to take out the opponent rather than to maybe, sort your life out.
Yeah.
Get better at football.
Don't ruin someone else's life.
Yeah.
That sort of thing.
And I got sent off for standing slightly too close to the guy taking the throw in.
Yeah, but I mean, you're quite dislikable though. There's
That's
something
true.
you do annoy people. It's
Yeah.
probably your voice, to be honest.
Yeah.
I can stand here, referee, if I like. It's just it does grind at people.
Yeah. You're doing it much better, David Mitchell now.
Actually, saying that, shout out to Archie. You know what he told me actually recently. He said that Cess, he speaks very well. He sounds like a man of taste.
Yeah. You know what? This Archie, he's sounding better and better.
I don't know. I corrected him, so don't worry. But yeah, he seems to be. He's actually. I think he is one of the biggest fans. He loves Coops.
Well, he's learned
Strangely,
everything
he
about
hasn't.
football from us. Isn't he? So that's what you said.
Sorry, Archie.
You said
he
that
learned-
he knew nothing, and he learned everything about football.
I
From us.
did add a caveat there saying that I might have misquoted him slightly, but we'll go with that. We taught him everything. Sorry, Archie.
Hey, he's our biggest fan. It sounds like he's on my side.
Well,
He's starting to realise how silly you really are.
he said to me, "Oh, I love Coops. I'm Cess's man of taste." He hasn't said anything about me yet.
It makes sense. Yeah.
No, it's not like I'm.
Yeah, but I'm exposing you
inspiration
for the
or
guy you
anything.
really are, because you're this guy that goes around going, oh, I'm a teacher, I'm teaching the next generation, I'm
Inspirational,
I'm a smart, inspirational guy, yeah.
Yeah.
And people are now starting to realise, thanks to this podcast, that you are an idiot that will die in an instant.
Is
during-
that why? The last couple of weeks, people haven't been listening to me in the classroom. I've just been at
yeah,
the
that's
front
probably
going, "Excuse me," and no one's actually. Who is this guy?
Now they're going to hide your tin of beans at lunchtime so you get hungry.
Right. Yes, let's move on. So yeah, rivalry and hatred then. So
in other sports.
Are we gonna fix it, or do you want to keep going on about other sports?
Well, in order to fix it, we have to talk about other sports, don't we? Because
Well, we have done though. How much more do we have to talk about rugby?
I've said barely anything about rugby so far.
Ugh,
You
stop
keep
mentioning
going on
it.
about it.
Just stop talking about rugby.
I've purposely gone to other sports, and you keep going on about
Just
rugby.
keep going on about it. Right. So what do you want to say about other sports? Anything else?
Well, I think you can't really necessarily change it overnight, and we've said that on the other episodes, the toxic fans and stuff like that. You can't change it
Improving
overnight.
refereeing. It's going to be something which you're not going to get it completely solved.
No, but I think what football
what needs
can
to start
do,
happening?
Yeah, well, I think what football can do is try and we need to find a way, the two of us, because we are the front runners in changing football. I think what we need to do is find a way to change the masses' idea of what rivalry should be. So I'm not necessarily saying we need to find a way to kick out these violent guys, because that's something, based on toxic fans we've talked about before.
Yeah.
But if even someone rational as you can want their biggest derby rival to be relegated, then that's something that can spark something worse. So that needs to change from.
I mean, yeah.
Understand.
And we did talk about it, and it was something where in the long term, I wouldn't want them. I said it'd be nice to get them relegated once, but then
As a laugh.
as a laugh, because then we can just hold that against them.
But that's
then they
only-
get promoted, but not first, because I don't want them winning the
But
trophy.
that's the thing. That's something that I think it sparks something worse.
It is a bit of in spite. It's sort of spite, isn't it?
Yeah,
You wanna
because
hold something
you're
that's
a
negative.
rational guy. Imagine if you were already quite a violent guy that would have a fight every Saturday night at a pub, and then you had a similar thought. Then obviously you're going to start fighting.
It's
with
almost
other
like that's
Spurs fans.
the spark for the fire, almost,
I mean,
isn't
that's
it?
quite literally what I've been saying. A spark.
Yeah, but I just continued the metaphor into a fire. You didn't say fire, did you?
Oh, you thought a spark for me meant something different,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So you're welcome.
Yeah.
So
Thank
yeah, it's
So
a
I-
spark, that could, ignite.
Nice. And guess
see
who's
it?
going to be editing this?
Damn it.
So I think we need to find a way to change people's idea of that. Because,
Is it just educating the difference between?
well, think about it. Think about
Rivalry and
rivalry. You said yourself you don't want to see Tottenham win. And I'm not necessarily saying you should want your rival to win. But what I really want is for Everton and Liverpool to be fighting for the titles again. Like it was in the 70s and 80s. I'm not saying I want to see Liverpool win, but I want them to be doing well at the same time as Everton, because
Adds
winning
extra
winning a
special
title
feeling.
against your rival is
Yeah.
the biggest thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it
Tottenham and
felt great.
Arsenal. Well, Tottenham and
I've
Arsenal
had that experience.
have never really had title rivalries
No.
in the Premier League. You've had United and Arsenal, but that's one of those temporary rivalries because of
Yeah.
the side you're fighting. Like Liverpool and City now.
We won the league at White Hart Lane, which was the next best thing, though.
That's the next closest thing, yeah.
Oh,
but then if you
sorry.
win a title where Tottenham just lose out to Arsenal, that's going to feel fantastic, isn't it? And then the rivalry, the derby rivalries, the North London derbies will be incredible. wouldn't
Just
it?
they carry that extra weight
Yeah.
to it almost. If they're in the Championship, you wouldn't be able to have that experience.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm not necessarily saying you need to root for your rivals, but I think people need to start learning to actually accept that rivalry is actually supposed to be a really good thing. Imagine if Darth Vader was a really weak bad guy.
That's an interesting point.
Yeah, the bad guy, if anything, should be stronger in order for the fight back, defeating the
Yeah.
bad guy to be
David
more
and Goliath
satisfying.
kind of thing, yeah.
Yeah.
It makes it more of an accomplishment to have
Yeah.
done it. That's what you're saying, essentially, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
So it's more of an accomplishment. If the better they are, the more it means if you beat them.
Yeah.
That's I basically just said it in a better way than you waffled on for ages. So how do we
Are
do
you
that?
taking the credit for just saying a few words after what I said?
I just basically clarified all that gobbledygook you just talked
Is
about.
that what you do as a teacher? You just take people's idea.
I correct them, like a minute ago when you were trying to say, just so for the edit, you're trying to say distinguish, and I had to correct you on that one as well. So yeah, I just straighten everything out.
Right.
So how do we fix it then? How do we make things more of a rivalry and less hatred? Less of a hatred. There you go.
Less of a hatred.
Yeah.
Well, firstly, I think it's to do with the people of influence. So So you could talk about players, managers,
Captains,
ex-players.
especially, I suppose. The captains on
Yeah.
the pitch, you represent the team.
It's kind of gone that way recently. You know, the Klopp and Pep hugging each other, and teams at the end of a game aren't, you know, the Roy Keane, Patrick Vieira style. They're more,
Keane hates it, doesn't he?
Yeah. and
What are you doing?
And again, I'm not saying that's the right way to go about it. It can kind of take the sting out of a heated rivalry, but that actually carries a lot of power, because when you have someone like Keane and Vieira clashing, you have real hatred.
Oh yeah,
building.
those games. I mean, I'm biased because obviously I was involved with a team
Yeah.
in terms of I
But
supported
you
the team
have
in
real
it, but-
hatred for United, and I'm pretty sure a lot of that hatred was fired up because of the real hatred.
It
that
felt it was a
Arsenal
battle. It
players
felt you
have
were
in
watching and you were supporting a team that's
Yeah.
in battle
Yeah.
when that game was approaching. I don't feel that really with even when we're playing Liverpool or Tottenham. I suppose Tottenham to some extent you feel it's a bit of a battle, but physically, I suppose partly because the rules have changed. It's not as much of a you're not allowed to challenge
Yeah.
as much anymore, but maybe that's part of it as well.
But that's kind of it kind of shows that it is a big reason why a lot of people have hatred towards another team, because those players had a lot of hatred for each other. You felt that hatred watching it, whereas now you don't have that as much because they don't have that hatred.
I suppose, yeah, in a
Yeah,
sense,
so
that does
that's
prove the
what I
point. So
mean
the
with-
influence of by what you're seeing on the TV
Yeah.
or in the stadium.
And as well as that, people like YouTubers and
Pundits, I suppose,
pundits,
as well.
yeah, they have a lot of sway on that as well. When you have, especially when it comes to the YouTubers, actually, because mostly they're done by fans, aren't they?
Yeah,
And so those
yeah.
fans will carry their own hatred and kind of stoke everyone else's.
That bias, and that's actually that's
Yeah.
one thing that because I tend to not be on the socials and stuff like that, other than for this very important job of ours.
Yeah.
But when you see all the things on our Facebook page, you see all the different Spurs things coming up, and they really come out with some silly things. It makes you. It almost does want to provoke you to defend your tribe. If you
Yeah.
like, you know. Even I, as you call it, a rational, relatively rational person, but it makes me want to go on there and say,
Yeah, don't get me
"Excuse
wrong.
me."
Don't get me wrong. I still think you're an idiot.
Oh, right.
But you're a rational guy when it comes to football, I think.
Oh, okay.
More rational than most.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Fair
But
enough.
still an idiot.
You're still an idiot. So, yeah, no, okay. But yeah, and it does, I can understand, because I'm someone who, like you say, I don't feel like I need to get involved, but it does make me want to. The difference is I have control over it. Isn't that just good parenting when you're being brought up and you learn what you should and shouldn't do?
In a sense, because I think...
Because people still feel annoyed and stuff, but you just keep it to yourself. You
Yeah.
don't have to go and express that in a
And-
violent way.
And again, that's what when I said earlier, I think people use football to justify the violence within
An
them.
excuse, basically.
Yeah, without football, they would still be violent. They'll just use something else. They'll use religion as an excuse. They'll use their own race as an excuse or something.
So our excuse is parents and carers have to sort it out. Because
Yeah.
that will just fix society, and then football can be not used as
That'd
an
be lovely.
excuse, basically. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I think so. If everyone just comes down hard on violence, so even in places like pubs that show football, for example, they have a zero tolerance on
Yeah.
that of any nasty chanting or any show of violence.
Yeah.
But
And that's the same, like, because when you see that rubbish sport that begins with R, when you see that in a pub,
yeah,
you know, I mean, there probably are fights, I'm sure there are, it's human nature and
well,
everything,
that's what happens in rowing.
oh, is it?
Yeah.
And when you put alcohol in the thing as well, but in general, you don't tend to hear about it so much. You know, with football, you seem to hear about, whether it's the publicity of football, I don't know, but it does feel like there's
Yeah.
more aggression and violence and more incidents in football, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, football is the biggest sport, so there are far more people watching it.
And it's
so
going to
that's
sell
fair
more
enough.
papers with the stories, I guess.
Yeah, but you've got violent sports. You've got boxing and mixed martial arts, UFC. There's very few fights and
Between the fans.
nasty things. Yeah, between the fans and again with the actual fighters in boxing, for example. Usually, you see respect at the end of a fight, don't you?
Yeah.
And then you end up seeing respect amongst the fans. Imagine if you had real nasty showings between the fighters at the end of a fight. You know, in the build-up, there's usually a lot of tension in order to build up the fight. But then afterwards, there's usually respect.
When the business is over, it's
Yeah.
then, you know, back to the humanness element.
Yeah, exactly. So
the
even
respect.
in these violent sports, you don't get the kind of violence outside of the sport like you do with football.
Yeah, it's true. It's literally a violent sport, and you don't seem
Yeah.
to find it. So that sort
To
of
the
tells
point
its
that,
own story.
yeah,
doesn't it?
it's put a lot of people off. I've heard people say that they don't want to go to a football match because
Yeah, or they don't
Yeah,
want to take
yeah.
their kids to it, or they
Yeah.
don't, and that's that's tragic.
that's
You know,
really
that's
tragic.
so
Yeah.
when you think that, and those kids, they can't see their idols and that sort. Have to
Yeah.
watch them on TV. They can't experience that sensation of being in a stadium because it's not safe. I mean, that's just embarrassing.
Yeah, exactly.
And I agree with you. I think one thing, yes, managers and all of that sort of thing as well. We want emotion though. I think we said this when the toxic episode we did.
Yeah.
Not the toxic episode. It was a good episode. But in terms of the
Yeah,
the
that
topic,
really toxic episode.
yeah.
Yeah.
We got a bit nasty in that one.
Yeah.
It was unnecessary. But no, in that toxicity based topic episode we did, we talked about how people need to behave, and you know, but we don't want to get rid of emotion, and that,
Yeah.
I think that's important. You can have emotion as you do in other sports.
Yeah.
But how? So I think captains especially should be the only ones to talk to the ref, and how they do that should be in a very respectful way. But yes, emotion will come across and everything, but the way that we see the refs, we talked about this again in the refereeing episode. We fixed a lot of this already, to be honest.
Yeah.
And that is treat the referees with respect. At least on TV, you need to make sure you're appearing respectful to the ref, and only the captain should talk to them.
Yeah, because we've
Anything,
already seen.
you know.
Yeah, we said it. We at the beginning of the season, didn't we? That within 6 months, the whole yellow cards for
6 weeks, probably.
Yeah, whole yellow cards talking to the ref, it'll disappear, and it disappeared
That's what it does,
so
yeah.
quickly, didn't it? I haven't seen a yellow card for that in quite a while now.
Yeah, well, what was it? Dallo for United got those 2 quick yellows, and it made an impression at the time, got
Yeah.
the headlines, and it hasn't happened since. So
Yeah.
no one's got 1 yellow card, it seems. you know?
Yeah, the Liverpool City game a few weeks back, you know, for the that was in the
Oh, it was a
league,
yeah,
wasn't it?
league.
That was
Yeah.
it ended 1-1. That one, so many times, all of the players got surrounded. I watched it with my parents, and I was saying yellow card, yellow card, yellow card, yellow card, but nope, none of them got
They just
yellow
doesn't.
cards.
They just don't. I don't. Yeah.
The ref was having to walk backwards because Haaland was right up in his face and kept walking backwards.
It's massive players.
Yeah.
In, you know.
And you know, a young guy watching that. Oh yeah, I'm allowed to do
I
that.
think it's
then.
just relegate both those teams. To be honest.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Immediately, right?
So no,
Not
I
from
agree with you. Yeah, get them out.
Yeah.
But no, that's the thing. I think we want emotion, but in general, only the captains,
Yeah,
and the captain should try and just be mindful of it. I don't mind if it spills over occasionally. It's human, you know, fine. But the rest of the players need to be out of the way. They're not allowed to be there. And then on the touchline and all that, you want passion, you want celebrating, but you don't want aggression and fighting and that kind of thing, because like you say, that's going to influence the fans. And the kids who see this, when the kids, especially the younger kids who are watching the players fight and stuff like that, what's it telling them?
just said that as well.
Somebody think of the children.
You're just constantly repeating what I'm saying.
I came up with these ideas. I don't know what you're talking about. Another thing
Yeah.
is, I think, can I bring back the Walk of Atonement? I mentioned it
Yeah.
in some of our earlier episodes. I think, get these people to do the Walk of Atonement with that woman from Game of Thrones, ringing the bell, shame, that'd sort them out, wouldn't it?
Yeah, we said like every Friday or something.
Yeah, and it would be like a TV
Atonement.
programme. You can have like a,
Yeah.
the Walk of Shame, the Walk of Atonement.
Yeah.
It's like being used, the stocks we used, weren't they? You'd be putting the stocks centuries ago, whatever it was.
Yeah.
That'd be a nice bit of entertainment
be
and
quite
it'd
fun.
teach a lesson.
Yeah.
You wouldn't want to be in there, would you? So,
No, I wouldn't. No.
what was that TV show out on, like, when you could get your own back? There you go.
Oh yeah.
Get your own back. Imagine that. That'd be cool, wouldn't it? That sort of idea.
Get your own back.
Again, I think we talked about it, and I think there's one thing you were going to talk about from, like, grassroots level, like fixing it more culturally.
Yeah.
Do you want to explain? I think you talked about it before when we did one of the
I talked about it before. It's
How would
basically
you fix it that way then?
It's basically going down that respect route that we've mentioned before, because kids growing up playing football in schools or academies, youth clubs, whatever it is, they will, in most cases, they will imitate the professionals or their elders, because that's how you learn, isn't it?
Yeah,
You learn
exactly.
from the elders.
Yeah.
And if they see their favourite players...
That's how our fans learn from us.
Exactly, yeah. And imagine the new generation, though. I mean, like I say, you're an idiot
I have high hopes for the next generation because they've listened to our podcast and
That's true. Yeah. Imagine
we're fixing the world.
how much easier are they going to have it after us?
I was
We've
going to say,
fixed
would
it
it be
all.
boring that there's no... But no. That we want a nice, healthy
Yeah,
rivalry
that's a good point. Yeah.
instead of... yeah, anyway.
Yeah. So.
Grassroots. Schools.
Yeah. So if they see their favourite players being rude and disrespectful to the refs, then that's how they'll play. And if the parents scream and shout at a 14-year-old volunteer ref, then the kids will
Yeah.
do that as well. And it's on the responsibility, the onus is on the teachers, the schools, to cut that out, to ban the parents. If I was a parent screaming and shouting at a young teenage ref and then get banned from my kid's school because of it, I'd have to rethink my life.
You'd hope so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think
Well, that's it. Before it all starts, like I was saying, when you buy tickets to a game, terms and conditions and agreement, that kind, like you go into a pub, like you were saying, and there's that kind of understanding. It's not tolerated. We're here for the supportive environment.
yeah, that's the two things I think could help. But they're long term. So the grassroots, from grassroots, just instill respect in anything. So if you look at other sport, I played I played cricket when I was at school as well, and I wasn't allowed to talk back to the umpire or anything. I wasn't allowed to talk back to teachers. So
That's because
what
your
you learn.
nasal voice, though, isn't it?
That's true. Yeah, yeah, and I was quite cowardly as well as a kid. So
Yeah.
So yeah, that's how you're raised. And in cricket, you can't talk back to the umpire. You can't even talk badly about the umpire in an interview afterwards. And so that's how it's instilled. You don't really hear violence in cricket. It's all instilled in that way. In football, you're allowed to scream and shout at anyone you want, at any age, at any one. At the one person with power, the referee, you're allowed to say and do whatever you want. pretty much.
It's just ridiculous. I never used to understand it. I do get annoyed with referees and stuff, but when I'm on the pitch or when I'm watching TV or watching the football match or whatever it might be, I've never actually felt that I need to go and attack a referee or be abusive and that kind of thing. So commenting on your performance or something like that, I get sometimes that can spill over, but to be up in a referee's face and say this,
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
it's just not right.
look at heavyweight boxers. They can be twice the size of a referee. The referee can make bad decisions, and yet you don't see the fighters the screaming and shouting at the ref or anything. They just accept it. They just go along with it. If fighters in a violent sport can respect the referee, footballers will be able to. You can't talk about this whole, you're taking the passion away from the sport. No, don't be silly. You're giving respect to the one person that deserves it.
Wow, that was beautiful.
Thank you very much.
That was amazing. I couldn't have said it better myself, but I'm going to try.
There's a couple of seconds there, you pause, and you kind of shocked, going, wow, that's so inspiring.
That was actually quite, because I've been trying to turn everything, all the long wafflings you've been going on with into more concise statements, but that was beautifully put.
Couldn't better said it better. Yeah.
Yeah.
But also the other, the grassroots is one long term.
That's not a quick fix, but
the other one I think is the spark that I mentioned, because
to ignite the fire.
That's the one. What a great line you came up with.
Good metaphor there, isn't it?
But everyone, all football fans seem to have this, the spark that I mentioned before, where they have this idea that rivalry and hatred is synonymous.
Yeah.
And yet, it really isn't. You can have rivalry without the hatred. And if anything, it's more fun because you can actually have healthy rivalry with your closest rival.
Ugh, that sounds horrible.
Some of my closest friends are Liverpool fans, and it's perfectly fine. And I'm not necessarily saying I want to go into a Liverpool FC pub or anything, partly because it's hours away. It'd be
it's a long way away.
Yeah, inconvenient.
Such a Glory fan anyway, aren't you?
A Glory fan.
Glory supporter? Oh yeah, good point.
If I wanted to go for Glory, Everton's probably not the first team I would go for. Probably not the first 16 teams I would go for.
Oh, you're probably a Man City fan as well. Come on.
What were my second team? It used to be Arsenal until I got to know you.
You've known me for 20-something years. You've only recently started disliking Arsenal.
I've just been disliking them more and more, really.
You came down to watch Arsenal against Everton a couple of years ago when we saw the players.
Yeah, well, I came to see Everton against Arsenal. I just happened to be in the Emirates.
Oh, right. Yeah, but you enjoyed it. You
That's good.
fist bumped Martin Odegaard, didn't you?
That's true. And I think he scored because of that.
Or was it? No, you fist bumped Smith Rowe, was it?
Oh, yeah.
And I
because
fist
of
bumped.
that.
Yeah, I fist bumped Martin Odegaard.
Ah,
That was what it was, you see.
oh, damn.
But that was cool, that wasn't it? Yeah.
So yeah, it's a spark that I mentioned. So everyone's got this idea, the blurred lines between rivalry and hatred. I think people just need to get over this idea that you need to be tribal. People need to love the idea that the better your rivals are, the better the sport
the more
will be.
fun and more entertainment it's going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is a bit, it does take a bit, you have to train your mind almost to do it.
Yeah.
I don't want to sound like a Jedi Knight, but you do sort of have to sort of, I don't know, do we have to meditate on it? I don't know.
I think it's that litmus test actually. That actually, I think it opened your eyes a little to the idea
Again,
of
that was
rivalry and hatred,
beautiful.
didn't it?
You've been on form today.
Yeah, so just ask yourself, do you want to see your closest rival get relegated? And if your answer is yes, which it has always been whenever I've asked people, then just ask yourself, do you actually want to not play against your rival again?
Yeah.
Because
Try and look further down the road. That's
Yeah.
often a problem with loads of things. People sort of answer something without thinking it through. If you,
Yeah.
it's thinking it through, isn't it?
that's what you say about all your students, isn't it? That they don't think. You told me that earlier.
Did I?
Yeah. You say that quite often, actually, that you always moan about your students. Oh, they don't think at all.
You gaslighting me. Is that the
What?
phrase? Is that the thing?
I don't think that's gaslighting, is it?
I don't know. It's a phrase that the young people
You're
say.
just using a random phrase.
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't say that, by the way. Sess is in just forging evidence. Evanescence.
Have you got a word a day calendar or something?
Anyway, one other thing is it's a fix I think we were talking about with one of our previous episodes as well, but that's having I was going to say posthumous again. Posthumous. What's it called? Retrospective action. So you have a panel of people that, if you're approaching the ref, if you're, a panel of individuals, whether that's involved with ex-players, referees, managers, whatever, or just an independent panel. I mean, there's a government panel coming into football now, regulator, isn't there? Whatever it is, and it's not just players on the pitch. It might be managers, it might be fans, it might be whatever, and they take relative action, appropriate action to whether it's banning them, whether it's fining them, whatever.
Yeah.
That sort of thing, and some sort of course they need to go on because they need to get help.
They really do, yeah.
I don't understand it, yeah. But I mean, we love rivalry. We love, when those tense games come along, it always means that little bit more, but just don't get violent over it.
Yeah.
We're getting a knighthood after this episode, that's one thing for sure.
Oh, but yeah, I mean, this is going to sort out so much because then people are going to rethink their lives in general.
Exactly. That could be the king at the door. Or it might not be. So yeah, are we happy with that? We've solved another one?
I think so. I think we've opened a lot of people's eyes.
There we go. Sess has been on form today. Apologies for his nasal voice, but if you...
It's how I do.
That's how
Besides,
I do.
what was it Archie said, that I'm a classy guy or something?
You have a man of taste or
man
something.
of taste, yeah. So, did he compliment you at all?
Not yet, but
Oh.
he probably did that when I wasn't around. You don't want to set someone's face because it's...
So he said it behind your back.
He said,
That's what he said. He just said it to himself.
if he's complimenting me behind my back, I have no problem with that, if I'm honest. It's if he's saying other things that I'm not worth thinking about. Anyway, so...
He'll probably say good things to you now because he feels like it's an obligation. But you know that it's going to be fake. If he says anything good about you now...
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm starting to feel hatred. You're building on there. I really am. No, well, yeah, so hopefully you've enjoyed the episode. It's apologies for waffling on a bit, and again for Sess's annoying voice. But
apologies for exposing James's idiocy and what he thinks about his students.
that is not true. That's unprofessional.
Well, yeah, that's what I said, but you said it anyway, didn't you?
How do I complain about workplace bullying? This is not. Do we have an HR department yet?
I suppose. I mean, I'm happy to be head of HR.
Oh, really?
as well.
No, I'll be head of HR, I think.
No. I think it's better if I'm head of HR.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I
Right. So thanks for listening, everyone. As usual, please do follow us on all the socials.
Yeah.
It also, just so you know, there's some amazing. We had Christian Bale and was it Michael Caine? I can't remember who did Alfred, but we had some brilliant actors come in to help us make some adverts.
Yeah.
You can find them on our Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube pages.
Yeah.
Go and have a watch.
Subscribe to our YouTube page. We will have. We do want to be on YouTube eventually, but
Yeah, and we've got a plan. Hopefully, in the next couple of weeks, we'll get some episodes and clips and things up there as well.
yeah.
So that's on the horizon for us, isn't it? So yeah, thanks as always, guys. I'm not saying it.
You are.
It's goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from me.
Ugh.
Goodbye.